Board of Trustees to order at 6 p.m. showing all board members present except for Joel Sanders. This time we'll move to item 2, invocation and pledge of allegiance.
I would, if you will. Heavenly Father, we're just grateful for every blessing we have. We're just thankful for all the talents that you've provided, different ones. Thank you especially for your son Jesus and the hope of eternal life that we have, and help us to do the best that we can to serve and help out other people. And especially this time, please be with our students, all the elementary students and our secondary students, the ones that have to travel, the ones that have to have an experience, a new experience. Help them to be safe. Continue to watch over our teachers. Bless the teachers, if you will, Lord, and help us to do things in a positive way. Help the administration as well, and especially the board tonight. They bring different talents, and please, Lord, help them to use those talents to the utmost. Continue to watch over all of us. Please be with the first responders as they make us safe and keep us safe, and the military as well. Bless this country we live in and the freedom that we enjoy. Tonight especially be with the sick. We've got some sick folks, and please be with the ones that are caring for them. Be with those who are trying to give them comfort as well. Bless them in their healing, if you will, if you're within your will. Continue to strengthen us and guide us. Help us glorify your name in all we do. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's do the text right.
It's over there. It's his flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state. It's over that corner, yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, we'll move to item 3, public comments. The next item on our agenda is the public comment period. This is the time for citizens, staff, and students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will be permitted during another portion, will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting. So please let us hear from you now if you have comments to present. You have to have your comments heard tonight. Your name and the subject matter of your comments must be written on the sign-in sheet prior to the start of the meeting, which is located in front of the meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments. As the presiding officer, I will strictly enforce that limit. If a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board shall not allow more than 30 minutes per public audience portion of the meeting. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of an open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment or complaint meeting after meeting. We have one person signed up, Mrs. Weatherford.
I think all of you know me. I'm Judy Weatherford, and I am here talking about the career of technology education. I've been doing this a long time, 47 years to be exact, and I'm sure some of y'all may have gone through our program as well. CTE is a group of classes, and we teach skills for life. Every student is not college bound, but needs skills to function daily, whether in a job or personal. Those that do further their education have a jump start. For example, computer skills that are needed to enhance their classes when they go to college. This year our budget was cut approximately 45%, as compared to about 10% in the past years. This cuts down on needed supplies and equipment needed to teach our students a given trade, such as welding rods, foods for culinary classes, auto tech supplies, and much more than that. We are all in this for the students. Every decision you make should be to enhance the quality of education that serves these students. The administration has said it supports the CTE department. Show us with a budget that can be increased to buy what we need to buy. Our CTE generates its own money, which is mostly used for our salaries, for travel, etc., and the school receives a percentage also of that to use as you see fit. Our department is strong enough and dedicated to the students that we will make it work no matter what it takes. Our students will continue to compete and advance the state and national competitions, receive scholarships, receive certifications that will be beneficial to them in the working world, and succeed because we care. Others have wanted to address Ms. Stewart, the school board, but feel that no one ever listens. Our communication is the key. Be available to us, listen intently, give answers when you're asked a question, and then get back with that person in a timely manner of what the outcome would be. Let's give the students what they need to become productive citizens in our society.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 4, consent agenda. Everyone can look over this consent agenda. If you haven't already, we'll need a motion to approve unless someone wants to pull an item.
I move it to approve number 4 is presented.
Okay, we have a motion made by Red and seconded by Bo. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Item 5, action and discussion items. A, discussion only, North Lamar ISD safety. Officer Bose.
Guys, what I just handed you is a proposal. Actually, it's a final draft. What's this one here? Okay. Final draft of the new addressing, 911 addressing for the school. Of course, the administration building changed to 3130 North Main. The alternative school has always been held under 3201 Lewis Lane. It is also moved. 295 Stone Avenue has always been the high school. But the rest of the buildings, besides Parker, have switched to what will be 3201 Panther Drive. And it will be marked with building numbers. Those building numbers will make it easier for Paris Fire, EMS, police, Sheriff's Department, whoever else, to be dispatched and effectively go to the place where they need to go. These buildings will be marked. The city is the one that came up with this, and it had to be 911 compliant through the ATCOM. So everything you're seeing on there we believe is set. I believe we're waiting to hear back from the city as far as I know. I believe I'm right on that. So I've also attached a map. I kind of highlighted everything. It's hard to see with how that printed, but that should give you some idea, and you should be able to match it up with the numbers on there, the building numbers. The stadium even has a number. We may receive EMS calls at the stadium during football season or basketball season at the gym here at the high school next door, softball field, baseball field, you name it. It's numbered and ready to go. Rick has worked tirelessly on this with the city, between the city engineering office and the fire marshal's office. He has gone through and gotten everything, I think, lined out and ready to go, if I'm not mistaken. So, any questions y'all might have on that or anything? Good there? Okay. Some of you were at the general session the other day, and I talked a little bit about alert. We're going to be taking, and by the way, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. I was going to give a safety update then, but I was out of town. We're going to give our armed staff members more training through some of the alert stuff and kind of join them a little bit more in line with what all I was taught in that school, and they will be able to also respond as we do and work together with law enforcement, fire, and EMS as well if we ever have a critical incident. So those things are in place. Raptor system is up and going. We're going to do some more training with armed staff in addition to the other alert training. So things are rolling pretty well.
Chief, our armed staff, I know we don't know who they are, we don't need to know who they are, but do they have something that they can, like a sash or something they can put across so first responders will know who they are?
They do. They do have something,
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions y'all might have? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item B, discussion on the facility planning committee. Mr. Jones?
I won't take a whole lot of your time, we should leave a little bit, but I want to make sure that we do justice. You mind helping me? Yeah, well, you might, I need to have about 4 of those more.
Jones?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I think we have enough copies so that most all of you can have one if you want. I just wanted to spend just a little bit of time today walking through some of this. Thank you. The reason is that, if you don't mind, the reason is that there was a lot of time spent on this. We started back in the winter. We've had 9 work sessions, and facilities committee, I'm just real proud of. It took a lot of their time, their volunteers, their board-appointed folks, a cross-section of our school district, and it was a real opportunity for people to get out and voice their opinions on different things and have input from Mr. Scarborough's done a wonderful job in putting all that together in the handout over here. But our basic thought for about the last 3 meetings is to come up with some scenarios. And definition there is some ideas about how we might approach this in the future. Everyone's got one, and it was really important to me to make sure that everyone had a chance to voice their feelings, their opinions about different things, and have timelines and something concrete to present. If we're going to ask the board to listen to us, one thing I've always found is it helps you have something for them to discover. It's not, rather than just my opinion or what somebody might think about something. We walked these campuses and done some serious work about it. We even gave them an example on the back of this first page, how it might be done, a timeline example of that, how it might be split into 2 different bonds if you're going to look at bonds. After everyone had a chance to input last several meetings, we came up, Mr. Scarborough came up with 4 different scenarios as described and voiced opinions of different committees. And really, it's nothing that new and different. Addressing roof leaks at all the schools. That sounds easy to do, but as the board understands, that's not an easy thing to do because of the money that's involved. The communication systems, that's a safety issue, yes, at the elementary, particularly at Parker and some of these other elementary schools. It's important for everyone to be able to communicate with the office in case something happens. And that's a priority, it really is. Our littlest kids over at Higgins playground needs to be addressed, obviously, and I think they have more than one, actually. I was over there the other day, and there's some things that can be done with that. We could even have some volunteer components in that. But timelines have been put in here. This is something that hopefully the board will look at over time and fit within their belief systems. You have a system belief that you've gotten over time about this district. Many of you have lived here all your lives, and that's a real advantage. You have some advantages there. But we split this down into 4 different ways. The first 3 would require a second bond. The first 3 are much less than the ones that have been put out before. I can't remember the exact number today, but I think one of them was, the last one was about 44, and the first one was in the 50s. I believe that's correct. But the scenarios that were presented said that it might be better to come with a lower number first and get that approval and see the progress as it's made around the community of buildings here. And that would build that trust that's so necessary for a bigger project. And obviously, there's a lot of people that think we should go on with the bigger project first, and that may be the right way to approach it. But most of the committee felt like that we'd have a real good chance of getting the smaller ones done first, where we address every campus, everybody gets something that they can see, and then go from there. There's no doubt that we have needs that are great. Each campus has them, so does athletics and different other groups like band. And truly, they will be addressed, and I have confidence in the board that they will be. There'll be some good that architect will provide you. Obviously, one thing I thought was really interesting that came out of this discussion was the idea of what can we get for a certain amount of money, and present some of that to them, the architectural group, so that we can get some more concrete numbers on the different things. But just in summation, I was real pleased with the working committee members. Even those that weren't able to come, many of them called and said they had something going, they were out of town or whatever, and they gave input over the phone or through the different emails that were sent out, and that's really good. These scenarios hopefully will help you with seeing some of the things that these folks gathered as projects that should be addressed. And as we just mentioned, those have to be addressed pretty quick, obviously, because you're dealing with the Higgins folks, with the little bitty kids, and they've got to have a safe place from a school standpoint, not only from a board standpoint, but from a principal, administration, teachers, and parents particularly are really looking at all that. So it makes a real good plan, and hopefully that can be addressed, and that communications issue can be too, because that's just something that's necessary. Like I mentioned at Parker, but at some of the other elementaries too, they've got to be able to touch base with the office if something happens. I mean, they've got to have that two-way communication. And I know it's a mess to try to rewire all that out of Parker and some of these other places. But before too many more months, hopefully we'll get that to where we can function with it and then address it as the board sees fit, renovations and bond looks. But that's just what we did. And as far as me, I was just real thankful that I had an opportunity to serve on the group. 9 meetings and all the different walkthroughs and all that. A lot of time was invested, and it was invested. It wasn't wasted at all. And different ones had different things to offer, and some of them were only interested in one campus or one program. That's fine. You know, that's fine. But we had to try to look at it from a big picture standpoint as well. But some of this has to be addressed. It's obvious that some of it has to be addressed before others. But I'm sure that every one of you have heard that from the public. That's nothing new. But this idea of having a good starting point, a good place to at least start the discussion about what we're going to do about it is important. And I can speak for myself and several others that I've talked to. We'll support whatever plan y'all come up with. I will. And I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of money to the school district every year. And I get a lot of money from the school district every year. I invest a lot of it in it. But the people that live here, half of, I don't know, 45% of the ground in this county, I think, is in our school district. So there's a lot of interest in the schools, and we've had such a good record over the last years. That tradition needs to continue, and y'all will, I'm sure, make that happen. But as for me, I really have enjoyed serving, and the board members that haven't served before, you guys, or you ladies and gentlemen, need to have a chance to have some of those folks on there. So after you meet with your architect, it'd be my suggestion anyway, that you might want to put some of the folks on for the future, that these people that you would choose. Anything that I can do to help, I assure you I will. And these 24 people that have served, I really admire them, and I appreciate their candidness and their concern for the children. I mean, that's a real good thing. Not every district has that going on. Some of them you have to go find them if you want to talk to one of the parents. But here, I've never had any trouble finding them, and that's all I want from them. Anyway, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, I do have one question, and if you want to answer it, it's fine, or you may want Mr. Scarborough to. You said he drafted these scenarios, or was this the committee that drafted it?
He took the input. We, the last several meetings, we've had discussions about what exactly do you want to see. And the opinions were varied, but they came down in about 3 or 4 different areas and 3 or 4 different amounts. And that's the explanation for it. And all he really did was just summarize what the different ones said. Now, but at the last 3 sessions, we've since April, I guess, or late March and April, and then this last one in the summer, we've had time to think about it. And I always told them, you know, take your time and put down what you think is a priority, because money is such a finite thing, and it's not easy to get board to call for a bond. But after the last 2, we need to make sure that whatever we propose is passed. And it's not a if and some group's going to go over there, some other group's going to go over here. We're going to have to get together and get this thing done. And I'm one that will support whatever this group comes up with.
Okay. Well, as you were speaking, I was trying to look over this, and it's fine print. And
It is.
But there's one thing I do see that's a little bit confusing to me, like on scenario 2, 3, and 4, it basically says Bailey 2 Stone, but what's the, and it may be in here, I've been looking
No,
for it,
that's all right.
but where would the Stone students go to in those scenarios?
Eventually, with the things that are happening, it's going to take a big picture approach to it, like you're talking about. And it's the opinion of this group anyway, that when we start getting into the construction, when we start looking at the fourth option, the fourth scenario of a major campus and all-weather track, and the size that's needed for the future, really, for the next 30, 40, 50 years, then they're going to have to go somewhere. We're going to use, this committee anyway, felt like that Stone was a really good facility. We need to continue to use it, but at the same time, use the high school that's currently here in that fourth scenario to house the middle school, and then bring an intermediate into that setting, into Stone.
Okay.
And then have whatever else is Everett and whatever else is there.
All
But
right, okay.
eventually, shelf life of Higgins is limited. And you're after looking at it, and I was over there the other day, and it looks great, okay? But all of us concluded that is a situation where you could pour tons of money in there, and you still have a serious problem with the foundation on that fault line. So they're going to have some relief within the next several years, and hopefully sooner than later. And then Bailey's got some serious things too, and it would decrease the campus sizes, the first one anyway, from current 6 to 5, and eliminate Higgins. But when you go to that last one even, you don't ever lose that 6 campuses. You still have that 6th. And the last one really is the final step. And even the ones like myself that thought we should do something first that we can show and tell our public and get them on our side more, and show that trust and that we're going to do what we said. then because of our past with the two that didn't pass, win that one and then go after the big one at that point. And it might be that the big one costs less, and I know it would because I've talked to several people that do know the cost of those things. And if we did one of the first three, just one of the first three, and then did the fourth and second step, then, and all of the first three require that second step.
Okay.
Did that help at all?
Yes, thank you.
Anything else? By the way, I should have said this, I'm sorry about that. Any questions about any of this stuff, I can help you with it. Mr. Scarborough can help you with it. And some of these people that have been working on this for months at a time and on different ones can help you with this too. So any questions you have, please ask.
Okay.
Just ask, and we'll try to provide whatever information we can.
Thank you. We appreciate your time and all the committee members' time.
Thank you.
Did anyone else have a question before we move on? Okay, we'll move on to item 5C, consideration of approval of policy update 113.
I can hear what you said.
I can hear you.
That's what happens when you get on. And which one did you say? Because I'm doing two.
113.
Policy update.
Policy updates, okay. All right. I didn't know how detailed you guys want to get on the policy updates. But I thought I'd do just kind of, because all we got to pass is the local policies. I was just going to give you a brief deal of what's got to be updated, and then if you need more explanation, I can do that too. But most of the policies, this was probably the least amount of several years, and most of them were just replaced policies by revision, and so I'm going to go over those. The first one is BBE local, which is the board member authority. And again, it's just replace the policy because it's been revised. A lot of the revisions, it never says the exact same thing. They may just change a word or two or a phrase. And so that's what that is. That one's talking about. Policy BDD local. It's talking about board, internal organization, attorney. And again, it was just needing to be replaced because it's revised. Policy BJCD was talking about the superintendent evaluation. Again, it's just a revision. Policy CI local, talking about school property disposal, and that was also a revised policy. The fifth one was the CO local, and that's talking about food and nutrition management, and that is also a replaced policy because of revisions. And then the next one was COA local, and that was a policy they recommended to add to our policy, and it's talking about food and nutrition management procedures. And so they're just suggesting that we add that to our policy, along with COB local. That's talking about food and nutrition as it pertains to free and reduced meals. So both of those policies were suggested to be added to our local policy. We did have one delete, and that was CRB local, and that's the insurance and annuity management for liability insurance. And basically they said that because that was usually addressed during budgeting, there was no need to have it in your policy, and so they suggested that you delete it from your policy, your local policy. And then the other two is EHBAL local. That's dealing with special education, video, and audio monitoring. And that was just a replacement because there was some revisions on that. And then the last one is probably one of the biggest ones. It's LNF local, and that deals with student rights and responsibilities as far as it goes to investigation and searches. And it was replaced and revised. There was a recommendation to take most of that and put it in the student handbook, and so I think that has been integrated into our student handbook, and Dr. Chadwick will, I think, address that in a minute. But that's the local policies. That usually there's a lot more than that every year, but that's all there was this year, so it's
pretty low as far as that. And what we are recommending is that the board either add, revise, or delete as recommended by the TASB Policy Service. So that's kind of the short version of the policy updates. If you guys have any questions.
Do you feel that these changes and revisions are good for our district? I mean, when you read through there, I mean, TASB's statewide.
Right.
Does this fit us?
All of them that I read, which was every one of them in detail, a couple of times just to make sure I read them correctly, they all seem to. So, I mean, and, you know, these people do this all the time, and their recommendations are usually spot on. With as times change, we need to change our policies, and so they're up to date with all that. And they all seemed like good recommendations to us.
Are we still doing the random drug testing for students?
As far as you know. Okay.
We are? Do we still bring dogs in sometimes?
We did at the middle school last year. We changed the random drug test company and do it.
Yep.
The students are chosen randomly by the company based on UIL participation or when you drop the car on campus. They randomly choose them, they send us a list and say, this is what the kids go check.
And when we are highly suspicious of things in backpacks or bags, locker rooms, do we ever have issues with students refusing to let you do that? I mean, Officer Bowles, where is he?
About, they'll throw something at us and we'll remind them we have reasonable suspicion. You know, that, hey, we have a tip, it's our responsibility to check it.
And we can do that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. What about, of course, when we get into student policies and we start talking about these e-cigarettes? I mean, is that a part of this or not? Should I even address that now?
Why don't you wait, because it's in
Okay.
our handbook that you can't do that.
Okay.
In fact, we
Okay.
have to do some PD on that with our
Okay.
teachers today.
And a lot of that stuff like that, Sheila, has been taken to the student handbook, so that's the stuff.
You
that
think
they
they're going to
provide.
read this thing?
I know. That's why you get the parents to sign, saying that they did read it.
I
whether they
understand
did or
that.
not.
I understand that. Sometimes kids do things that they don't even know they weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, anyway, I mean, I would be the same way. I would do things and not even know that I wasn't supposed to.
And that's
Thank
the same,
you.
same thing in life, too. I mean, we do things, may break the law, but we know when we're breaking the law. We don't know all of them. Any other questions on policy?
We have a motion made by Christie. Is there a second? Seconded by Bo. Is there any discussion, further discussion? All that approve, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Item D, consideration of approval in LISD 2019-20 Employee Handbook.
That's me too. The TASB model didn't have any changes as far as the difference from our last year employee handbook. So all we had to do is update our district information, like the new board members' names, the dates and times of our board meetings, the different dates for our appraisals for our teachers and stuff like that. And so all the local district information was updated, but as far as any recommended changes to the employee handbook, TASB did not have any recommendations this year.
Address that same question about the e-cigarettes here.
I'm not worried about the employees. I'm worried about what the employees have to deal with.
Understand?
We'll need a motion to approve, made by Christie,
I'll second.
seconded by Sheila. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we're going to need to move item I up in front of the next items. Consideration and approval policy update, EIC local.
notes here. I have to make a think for myself here. So what we're kind of proposing here has to be changed on the legal side so we can put something in practice on the campus as far as changing our GPA and how we calculate it with this new freshman class. And pretty much the sheet in front of you has why we're looking at making the change. We were finding a trend in some of our students that are in the kind of upper level GPA. They're not taking CTE classes because it was hurting them to take CTE classes. So what this proposal would do, allow us to, that won't hurt them, to take CTE classes and we get more kids in there. And the second sheet you have there is how we would break down our classes GPA wise. It also allowed us to kind of move some classes around based on the updated rigor of some of the classes as far as AP and pre-AP and regular and how it's weighted. So, and again, the attempt here is, number one, we want to get more kids in CTE, and we believe this will allow us to do that.
Explain the GPA weight and, I mean, to an average person.
Okay,
it
sure.
doesn't-
Well, the harder the class, based on the rigor, you get more points for how well you do in the class. And that's pretty much what you're looking at there.
So explain how it helps to remove the weight and not have.
Okay, well, if a kid is looking at their schedule and they're looking at a CTE class where they can only get a certain amount, or do I want to take this? It's better for me to not take a class without weight. It's better for me to take a class without weight and take a class in the middle ground where some of the CTE was, because I'm only getting a little help. But now what we've done, basically you'll see your CTE classes are pretty much leveled out to where they're not weighted. And so now it doesn't hurt you to take it. It won't hurt your GPA like you would. Or someone else, if you're taking a mid-level class and someone else is taking a high-level class, now I'm not losing ground.
So what else is in the current courses that are not weighted besides what would now include CTE? What other subjects not weighted?
Well,
Here's the
take
list.
take a look at your list there.
So they're going to get, rather than getting one or two that has to be average in or whatever, they're going to, I mean, it's just not going to count.
That's
So
right.
that's better.
And that's right,
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
now it won't
Gotcha,
hurt them in the race, if you will.
gotcha,
CTE classes.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Is that all CTE classes
Do we keep any, Mr. Brown, do we keep any CTE? I don't think we.
The only ones we kept were the CTE courses that you get a core credit for.
Right, so forensic science
A&P,
and A&P.
counting to everything.
Right.
Just a handful.
You'll see them either in your fives. I'm looking for them right now.
Anatomy and physiology was always counted, I know, in six.
It's there. It's a six.
Six, yeah.
Yes.
And the CTE department feels good about this happening?
Yes, so this is all done in conjunction. Mr. Brown, all our counselors are in the room and stuff like that. I don't know if Mr. Brown's got any comments about this.
I could just give you an example that may help. We had a student that graduated this past year that knew they wanted to go into the medical field, never took one of our health science courses because the weight that those courses would offer would bring her down in her class rank, which was very important to her and understandable. But, you know, in my mind, that's doing the student an injustice to, we're offering programs that can help, but they would take maybe an AP statistics that they didn't have to have to help up that GPA.
Because that had more weight
Just
than the
factor out,
CTE.
hopefully we can draw in some of those kids that are concerned about their GPA and take things that can help them at the next level.
So you believe that this is 100% student-driven and not money-driven?
Yes.
And funding
I mean,
driven.
It's student, we're student driven on it, but in the end, we hope to get more funding because more kids go to CTE.
But the decision to do this, to make this change, has nothing to do with the funding.
Well, that's a nice second, Correct, but that's a nice secondary benefit of it. I mean, the first thing is, how can we get, like, use that example. This is something this kid wants to do in their life, and they're not doing it in high school because of the way the GPA was set up. We want to entice them to follow those things they want to do.
I just want to make sure it's what's good for the kids and that.
Sure.
That we're not outweighing that because we just receive more money for doing it. Sure. We're going to need to approve this
Make a
policy.
motion that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Red, seconded by Bo. Is there any further discussion? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Did you?
No.
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Now, item E, consideration and approval, North Mar ISD 2019-20 Student Handbook.
What I'm going to present are the local changes and any items of interest that I feel like need to be brought forward. And if y'all have any that you would like me to bring forward, we'll stop and talk about it. I'll present any additional legislative changes at the next board meeting. So the ones I'm presenting today are the local. I'm going to start putting on my glasses so I can see the page number. Page 31. If you turn to page 31, I just wanted to note at the very bottom where it says pre-kindergarten and kindergarten that students enrolled in pre-kindergarten or kindergarten. In the past, I just want to make sure if y'all saw pre-kindergarten is included in this statement, are required to attend school and are subject to the compulsory attendance requirements as long as they remain enrolled. On page 34, you will jump a couple of pages with me. I have a couple of things. Attendance for credit or final grade. To receive credit or a final grade in a class, a student in kindergarten grade 12 must attend at least 90% of the days the class is offered. A student who attends at least 75%, but fewer than 90% of the days the class is offered may receive credit or final grade for the class if he or she completes a plan approved by the principal that allows the students to fulfill the instructions. So it's not just you have to go 90% of the time. It's between 90 and 75% now with this plan. Okay, so this kind of allows for some support there. If you jump down to the bulleted items, again discussing excused or unexcused absences, the fourth bullet, if you'll drop down there with me. The committee will review absences incurred based on the students participated in board-approved extracurricular activities. These will be considered by the attendance committee as extenuating circumstances. So this is added to support students who are participating in board-approved extracurricular activities. All right. Then we will jump over to page 51. I don't have to speak about this now because this was just presented by Mr. Scarborough. So this is where the new policy that y'all have now approved has been inserted into the handbook with specifics on the GPA breakdown. Okay.
Can I ask a question real
Yes,
quick?
ma'am.
I had a parent, and this was, I guess, Saturday, of one of our, I would say upper level students approach me about the way our valedictorian, should I discuss that here, and our salutatorian are chosen? And they made comment to me that it's not about grade point anymore as much as it is about taking certain honors classes. And that if they don't take these certain honors classes, then they're not considered for those honors.
I believe that pops up in grading guidelines.
The weight's higher on those.
So I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean,
There
really.
is a section on valedictorian and salutatorian choice, and I'll be more than happy to visit. There's a specific statement in here that shares how that's determined. I don't know that I had it highlighted, but I certainly want to cover it for you.
I mean, the comment was, well, it doesn't matter what your grade point is anymore. If you haven't taken these certain classes, then
Well,
you're
you
out. I
can
mean,
go
I
back to-
I didn't know.
Sure, you can go back to the policy that you just approved, which shows that the grade points are weighted based on honors classes because of the level of rigor. So in effect, yes, you would want your valedictorian to be the person who takes the more difficult classes with the more highly academic content. So they would be weighted higher. I don't know how anybody could become valedictorian that didn't take those classes. So in essence, yes,
I'm not real sure they understand.
that would be the case.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, just Algebra 1 regular is different than Algebra 1, you know, with
Well,
the
yeah,
history.
yeah.
So, that is the case. If
Yeah.
you want to be valedictorian, you need to take the more rigorous courses, and that would be honors courses. So, again, and that's certainly something I would be more than happy to visit with any parent
I
or
will,
community member
yeah.
about. If you would like to refer them to me, I'll
Okay.
be more than happy
Okay.
to visit.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move to page 68. This is very, very simple statement right in the middle of the page about electronic devices and technology resources. You have the option to return, this is right in the middle where it says they may pick up their device if it's been picked up for a fee of $15. Right above that says the parent or guardian of student may pick up. We have the option of saying the student could pick it up, but we choose the option, we continue to choose the option of returning it only to parent or guardian. And I think that's probably the best way to control that if someone has misused their privilege of their electronic devices. I think if we just turn right around and give it back to the student, we've really not deterred anything.
Are teachers allowed to take all of their cell phones and have them in a pocket of some kind, if that's what they want to do in their class?
That's just a holding device for the students.
And
yes.
it's okay for teachers to do that?
Yes, that's done pretty regularly.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've seen it in multiple places.
Yeah, but I just,
So when they get confiscated, they go to the office, right?
Yes, if it was being misused.
Right, and then they can go to the office to get it. They're not going to leave them in the classroom.
No, they wouldn't leave it in the classroom, it would go to the office.
Because if one gets stolen, that's $1,000 that school has to come up with.
Sure, we don't want that to happen. We want it to be locked up in the office appropriately. Okay, if you'll turn to page 71 for me. And it's about the third paragraph down where it's student safety and extracurricular activities. This says, as a parent, you're entitled to review the district's records regarding the age of each football helmet. I think, with all the concussion and things like that, this is a pretty important option for parents. If helmets have been reconditioned, they have that option to check into it. And then the next page, page 73, starts the grading guidelines. Right above grading guidelines, it's specific to the credit earned to become a sophomore, junior, or senior. That's very important for anyone to know. But grading guidelines is something that we've had multiple meetings and requested meetings by teachers. Teachers have requested to the principals have requested to me, so we formed a committee, and teachers, all principals and teacher representatives all met with me to discuss their concerns about grading guidelines. So as a result of those meetings, these are the changes that we made. So in short, it starts on page 73, but the real information that changed is on 74 under grade posting. So if you'll jump over to 74, the second paragraph down, second, third, fourth to the end, all of that has been revised to support some concerns that teachers had regarding what their job in the classroom was to take grades. So we did shift students in grade 1 to receive a minimum of 8 grades in English, language arts, reading, math, science, social studies per grading period. And then students in grades 2 through 5, I think in the past 1 was with them, so this is 2 through 5, minimum of 6 daily grades and 3 test grades in all content areas per grading period. This certainly helped teachers, and they felt much better about these guidelines. Students in grades 6-12, minimum of 9 daily and 3 tests. That did not change. It just supported the needs of secondary versus elementary. And then We do want to make sure that at the midpoint of a grading period, teachers will have at least 40% of minimum grades posted. I think there has always been a concern that sometimes a lot of grades get posted in the last week of the 6 weeks that drastically changes an average, and we're trying to set up a guideline to keep that from happening.
Where is that at on this
Page
page?
74, the last sentence.
So before you move on, and we have to come back, I have a question.
Sure, please.
In the first paragraph, it says they must be communicated weekly.
Yes.
But yet then down here, we're saying something that seems like it's different. So
Grading period would be 6 weeks. They have to have that many grades every 6 weeks.
okay, but
But the,
as far as posting,
Right, well, I mean, I guess we could go in and say a weekly percentage, but that, it doesn't, sometimes at the beginning of the 6 weeks, you don't take a lot of grades, and then you may have a project where more grades come in.
this first paragraph is not part of the change. It's been
No,
an
the first
existing policy.
paragraph had no change.
Do you feel like that's being done?
That teachers are required to faithfully communicate student grades weekly in the district grade book. Yes, and that's to be monitored by the principals to make sure that updates are happening in grade book. And there's a way that they can go in and check to make sure grades have been put in grade book. So I think that if someone were to call with a concern to a principal about that, this would help them to address it.
Okay.
Then on page 75, we have grade category distribution starting with grades 2. And it shows the weighting of grades for 2nd through 3rd, then 4th through 5th, and 6th through 12th. Where what we do is we give test grades a lower percentage the younger you are to a higher percentage the older you are. It's just your cognitive ability to support taking a test. We feel like this weighting adds to that. Now, in 1st grade, we actually had 1st grade in this weighting last year. We took it out because we just don't feel like 1st graders can differentiate between a test and a daily grade. So, we've tried to make this more student-friendly, more teacher-friendly, hopefully more parent-friendly. And what I really enjoyed about it was the collaboration between teachers, principals, and myself to put this together, where they were happy with this. On page 76, we also addressed late work that was requested by teachers to change it to no more than 20 points for work that is, students may be assessed a penalty of no more than 20 points for work that is not turned in on time. In order to be accepted, the late work must be turned in by the end of the next school day before a 0 may be given. And the teachers felt like this supported both them and the students. The redo retake. Last year in 2018, you voted to change the EIA local from the district shall permit a student to that meets the criteria, a reasonable opportunity to retake a test, to the district may permit. Okay, so with that policy change, we changed a little bit of the wording to support that change better, so that teachers had that opportunity, but it wasn't. It was negotiable to support the things that teachers know are happening in the classroom and relationships that they build with kids.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The student athletes and band people who miss days, how is that going to work during the week if they miss, so they miss one day on class and homework's due the next day? What's the procedure for that?
I'm backing up to page 75 where it says makeup work, and the last sentence under makeup work says the student involved in an extracurricular activity must notify his or her teachers ahead of time about any absences, and it supports in here those students getting additional time. I guess if you look up here in the makeup work, the first paragraph, it says the amount of time to complete the work will be 3 school days from returning to class. So that's
So
it's not
is
like
that-
the very next day.
Is that to our new class periods, not the block schedule?
Right. And then it says additional school days may be granted at the request of the student at the discretion of the campus principal. So there's allowances made in here. Let's say someone's participating in multiple.
Right,
And they
and they're
miss
gone 2 or
2
3
days in a
days.
row. So your principal has the opportunity to grant that, if a teacher doesn't already, and I think for the most part, our teacher will
I
support.
just feeling that'll be something that's brought up a lot.
It could be.
Since I had a lot of complaints saying, well, my kids on the block schedule, they could take time to do their homework. And now
Right.
we go to 8 periods. So when you got, say they're going for a day for sports or band, and the homework was due the next day, and they didn't get that homework. So that's what
They get 3 days.
okay. Thank you.
Sure, thank you for asking that. I like it to be clear before we move on. And that's all I have in the grading guideline changes. Again, I felt good about that. I hope that everybody that I've talked to said that they appreciated making those changes.
Now, I'm just to clarify in my head, on the redo, the retake, the student shall, the student may. Okay, did we change, is this what the teachers asked for and that we changed it to last year? So this is, okay.
Yeah, it said,
shall.
Okay, on page 76, right in the middle, it said, our EIA local, it used to say the district shall permit a student to redo retake. Now it says the district may permit. So we changed the word from shall to may.
Okay, so, but shall's in here.
I'm sorry, I'm just
She's
going
in
to
the first paragraph of redo retake, Sheila. I'm at the first paragraph.
Right here. Right here.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, may permit a student, okay, district guideline. Well, this is shall and shall there. I mean, does that override that?
This is just the way that the procedure is for getting the grade on a redo retake. So what this is saying is that the grade can be no higher than a
Okay,
70 if they retake
do.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
got it,
on the
got it, got
retake,
it.
not on
All right,
the
gotcha.
original.
So that one place it was changed from
Right.
shall, gotcha.
Right, that's reported to me to the teacher
Yes,
for
yes,
asking.
yes, yes. Good, good.
Okay. All right, on page 82. Under personal graduation plans, we are given the option, under the first long paragraph, it starts with a student may, right above available course options, y'all see me? A student may, with parental permission, amend his or her personal graduation plan after the initial confirmation. We choose to keep that with parental permission. We have the option of saying that we can do it without parental permission and just mail that home to them, but we want to keep that line of communication with parents. And this is one way to enforce that we are talking to parents and that parents are understanding what's going on with their kiddos. On page 88, we have physical activity requirements in junior high, middle school. We are opting to keep the 30 minutes of moderate or vigorous physical activity per day for at least 4 semesters. That is an option to shift to the 222 minutes, but this is the one we choose to keep. It's just one of the things I'm highlighting. There is an addition of temporary restriction from participation in physical education. That's an addition to the template. Students who are temporarily restricted from participation in physical education will remain in the class and shall continue to learn the concepts of the lesson, but not actively participate in the skill demonstration. So they can't just go sit in the library and read a library book. They're to stay in the class and learn the concepts, even though they can't participate. And if you will, on the very next page, I wanted to just add to my conversation the tobacco and e-cigarette, as you were concerned about that. That's right there in the middle. And it is stated in handbook that tobacco and e-cigarettes are prohibited at all grade levels and all others on school property. So.
Well, I'll just say this. If you talk to many of our teachers, high school teachers are mainly the ones I have had address this, it's a real problem. It's a real issue. And I mean, we can't deny it. I mean, I don't know how we're going to deal with it, but
Yeah.
it's a problem. It's an issue. And I mean, we have this supposedly going on, according to teachers. You know, they sneak their little thing in and they puff and inhale and do all this and you know.
Actually, this morning, yeah.
Officer Bose actually covered this morning with the high school.
If you will, things proceeding in class, and how to approach that, handle that.
Very
Keep your eyes
timely of you to
open.
ask that, because he did present that to the.
Well, this was I've been asking this for two years. And it seems to be a very serious and continuous problem. And from what I do understand, from the bus, when the kids ride the bus from the to the athletic facility, there's a lot of that going on.
Just from the school?
Yeah. And I mean, they have all these little contraptions that I couldn't even recognize or identify.
We showed some today.
And well, you know, and what are we going to do about it? I mean, well,
The number one thing like today is making everyone more aware of how these kids are doing some of this. I mean, there are some of these things that look like USB jump drive. They're not. And so when you see certain things going on in classrooms, see certain things out like that, be more in tune to what's going on. I'm not going to say it out here because it's being recorded, and I don't want to give tips away, but we talked about certain things that kids are doing to watch for, that if you see this behavior, send them down to us, we need to check.
yeah, but that's my concern. I mean, I know the teachers are fine. I mean, they're doing the best job they can. I know they are. What are we doing with these kids that just seem to not want to abide by the seriousness of this?
Are you talking about if we catch one or what?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, because there have been many caught, and the consequences, I don't know, have they helped?
He talked about some of that more specifically, because there's only so much, unless we actually catch them with tobacco or what's inside of it. This is something I don't know.
Well,
People to read. Listen to, there's certain options we have.
Here he is.
Hey, welcome back, Rose. There's certain options we have legally and school-wide. And school-wide, this is our handbook. We can address it discipline-wise. There are more options if we know what's in what they're smoking, which we can't always figure out. And that's kind of what those are.
Would you like to support some of that?
Absolutely. What's the question?
About e-cigs.
Yeah. Vapes are actually not is a nicotine product, but not a tobacco product. Therefore, we can't take action on it as far as law enforcement goes. That's something that they are keeping back on the school, essentially, for punishment. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily. But our legislators have not moved forward to change that, unfortunately. Unless there's something in the new legislation that's coming out that I don't know about. We should be getting our legal updates a little bit after September 1st. So that's kind of where we're at. He is correct about that. I've got how many vapes sitting in there right now? 20 probably.
Almost 10 on the desk.
Yeah, and Lord only knows what's in it, to be honest.
That was just your desk.
The test kit. I'm sorry.
Right now, for it's just straight, we have it on you, that's all we can tell, and it's 3 days ISS, and we can add on from there based on continuing behavior. If we can tell what's in it, it gives us a lot more options legally what we can do, because that stuff's in our handbook too. It's not only that, not only is it what you have, then it's the material, if you will, or the substance you have on campus, and we can ratchet it up from there.
Not a lot out there for test kits as far as field testing either. And to send it to a lab, it's just too expensive to justify, to be honest.
So it seems to me the best thing to do is try to eliminate the device from campus. So is the punishment strict enough, and can it be changed if the board desired to do so?
Yeah.
I mean, is that...
I think we would have the purview to do that.
Would that help you guys?
Yes. I think we want to get more information on how different districts are handling those specifically, you know, and what we're doing with it as compared to them. I mean, we're following pretty much right down the TASB, so I don't know how much different it would be, but we can definitely check into that. Because how far can we go with a student who just has a device? That would be the question I think we need to have answered.
Because like you said, some of them look like a zip drive and all that different stuff, and I mean,
What I'm
I've got everything in my desk from a brick to a little jump drive about that big. Sad, to be honest.
Well, I know when kids go out of town and they're on the bus and you've got school-sponsored, you know, activities and all this, to have to try to watch everyone and what they're doing, school-related functions. It's hard, but if there's not consequences, then how is it ever going to be controlled?
I agree.
I know one school district that I have a nephew going to that, I mean, they had a whole, it was their football team, and the coaches were so concerned about their players and trying to help their players understand that this is not acceptable and it's not good, and they built a, parent coach, whatever, some kind of and trying to help these kids not do that, or even think that it's whatever cool, or I don't know.
It is reverting back to that. A lot of it is, that's what it accepts.
Yeah, or I can get away with this. Look at me.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I don't know what we need to do to help y'all. I don't know what parents need to do to help their kids. It's just like other things. But if there's not consequences, I would just like to make an awareness.
What I'm going to recommend is we can go ahead and get a motion to approve the student handbook and put the consequences of this on next month's board meeting, and that'll give Mrs. Stewart time to get with you guys and us look at what other districts are doing and propose some different measures that will help you guys. And that may need to be addressed in the student handbook or the student code of conduct, one of the two, maybe not both. But we can come back and amend that at next month's board meeting. At least we can approve this policy so you guys have something for the current school year.
Are there consequences addressed in the student conduct book?
That's more so with student code of conduct. Handbook is kind of like general.
Okay.
Code of conduct, a little more
Next item up on the agenda.
Okay.
So we'll need a motion for that. Oh, she's not
Oh,
done?
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm getting ahead of you.
And this is a long handbook, this is the longest one we have, so we're on page 106, and I'm trying to jump through this. This one, right in the middle, school-sponsored field trips. This just says a parent must provide permission, but the district may also ask about a student's medical provider insurance coverage and may ask parents to sign a waiver allowing for emergency medical treatment and may require a fee for student participation. You don't see us needing to do that, it's just giving us that right to if we need to. Okay, and on the back of that page, page 107, on telecommunications and other electronic devices, just letting people know that use of district-owned equipment and its network system is not private and will be monitored by the district. Okay, so we're going to skip all the way to student code of conduct. So that will be that was the last thing on student handbook. If you have any questions? Okay.
Okay, we'll need a motion to approve that before we move on. Is there a motion? Motion by Bo. Is there a second? By Christie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Item F, consideration of and approval in LISD 2019-20 Student Code of Conduct.
Okay, and I will apologize. On my copy, when I printed this out, there were not page numbers. Do you have page numbers on there?
Yes, ma'am.
You do? Okay, so I don't know how to move forward and guess page numbers, but I'm going in order. Okay, so these, if you'll turn about 3 pages or
Okay.
6, depending on if yours is front or back, I did find where it says possession of prohibited items does include tobacco products, cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and e-cigarette devices. So just to kind of weigh in on that, that's nothing new, that was already part. Page
220
on ours. Oh, so even when I was giving y'all page numbers before, it didn't matter, did it?
There's two numbers.
Well, you had
on
two
it.
Oh,
numbers.
y'all did
That's
have,
fine.
okay, so this one, mine doesn't. All right, so now, and I just wanted to point that out, that that's where that is located, and we will address that. Okay, I'm going about 4 more pages, and yours should be highlighted. Is yours gray highlighted? At prohibited adversive techniques. Okay, so that's all we're covering now. These are the changes have been highlighted for you. They're all in gray. And the first one is prohibited aversive techniques. It just states that aversive techniques are prohibited for use with students and are defined as techniques or interventions intended to reduce the reoccurrence of behavior by intentionally inflicting significant physical or emotional discomfort, such as anything that's designed or likely to cause physical pain. You have 13 items here that I'm not going to read. But note that that is in a new statement in our student code of conduct. Okay, and we go about 4 more pages to out-of-school suspension. If you find that heading, out-of-school suspension, that you skip to misconduct, skip process.
227.
On the back of that page, it says, in deciding whether to order out-of-school suspension, and there's 6 items listed, the bottom 2 are highlighted. Do you see that? You're going to see this about 4 times throughout this book. And what they're doing is they're adding to take into consideration whether a student is in foster care or is status as homeless. And so that's been added in about 4 different places. I'll point those out to you, as on the next page. Same thing for if a student has been expelled. You'll see items 5 and 6, making sure you're taking into consideration foster care and homeless. And then 2 pages later, under sexual assault and campus assignments, you have process, conference, and then consideration of mitigating factors. Again, it's highlighted at the bottom. Items 5 and 6 are, again, make sure you're taking into consideration whether they are foster care or homeless. And then you go to transition services. It's about 4 more pages.
235.
It says transition services. This is highlighted.
235.
We have actually had some assistant principals and principals go to this training provided for us at Region 8. In accordance with law and district procedures, campus staff shall provide transition services for any student returning to the regular classroom from alternative education. And that's just to help them be successful. Our goal is not to send them back and throw them in the pond. We want to make sure that they're successful, so we want to provide a little bit of a safety net there. And a lot of that's emotional support. The next page, a placement review. So students placed in our DAEP, under these circumstances, review his or her status, including academic status, by the campus behavior coordinator at intervals not to exceed 120 days. And I think this is important because this addresses a student's academic needs, and we're not just considering the fact that they've had a behavior problem, but we're coming back and making sure that they're still successful academically. All right, so we're going to go about 4 more pages to expulsion order. You'll see 6 considerations. The bottom 2 considerations are highlighted. If a student is to be expelled, you are to consider whether or not they are in foster care or homeless. So that's the same thing again. The next page, under transition services, you'll see that's highlighted. And this is another statement for a student who has been in DAV or expelled to provide that transition service back to the regular classroom. Another mental health item, which is big in this legislative session. All right, skip a page and you see another highlighted for controlled substance. This highlight is just defining what a controlled substance is for this handbook. Directly below that, 2 paragraphs, is dangerous drug. Another statement that's defined on what a dangerous drug is. And then to our last one, and it is the second to last page. You see highlighted at the top of the page, reasonable belief. That reasonable belief that an ordinary person of average intelligence and sound mind would believe. So that is defined reasonable belief. And that is all I have on updates and changes to the student code of conduct. Any questions?
Who is going to, or is there a certain person that's going to be responsible to provide this transition service
There's
for
someone
these
designated on
situations?
each campus, and I believe that's like Mr. Clark at the junior high. the transition service. Typically, it's your assistant principal in charge of those students returning from alternative school back to the classroom.
So that's going to be something basically put on an assistant principal?
Yes, when they have been to the training on there. It's actually not a new concept, it's just now a new
Stated.
mandate.
Mandate.
It's been a...
Have they provided extra funding for some of the counseling? I mean, they seem to talk a lot about mental.
A lot of requirements.
Yeah.
for mental health.
Have districts gotten any extra funding for any of
I
that?
haven't seen anything on mental health funding.
Because that seemed
There
to
are
have been
grants.
something they said they were going to provide.
I've come across grants for additional counselors, but there's a lot of requirements to meet those grants. But I have seen grants for those specific counselors who are supposed to be doing that specific job. But that means hiring another person into the district.
Paying somebody more. As many jobs as we're putting on their plate.
Exactly. Any questions about student code of conduct?
We'll need a motion to approve the student code of conduct.
So moved.
Made by Red, second by Bo. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Item G, consideration and approval budget amendments.
It was in your packet, Mayor, I think with all the explanation.
It's just one, right?
Yes, it's to transfer $900 from DAEP supplies to DAEP professional contracted services.
We'll need a motion to approve that budget amendment made by Bo.
Can I ask what these are for?
Seconded by Christie. Is there any discussion? Sheila?
Yes, can I
How about
ask what
what is-
$900 is being spent on?
Yes, I'll be happy to answer that. All right, so 2 years ago, we left the DAP co-op and established our own. And we felt like we needed some training to establish our own DAP so that we're following mandated laws as you saw us reading those. These are consulting trips at $300 a pop, which is a very cheap consulting for an expert consultant to come in. We usually have consultants that come in between $800 and $2,000 a day. So we've got a local person who's been 20 plus years developing a DAEP, and she comes in and has come in. That will allow her 3 trips to come in and train and support our DAP. She's also helped run our report, which we'll be bringing forward to y'all at our next meeting. So, and that money is also an eligible expense through state comp ed.
And this was mandated? This is something we had to do?
No, it's something we needed to do to make sure that we're managing our DAEP properly. Just training, to make sure that our teachers, our new staff that are running that, know exactly what they're doing.
Which is?
Managing DAEP, the laws that go behind DAEP, they're pretty structured laws, and we plan on presenting that handbook at our next board meeting, so we'll have some pretty detailed information about how we plan on setting that out. But we're in our second year with the second group of teachers running that program, and we feel like there's a need for some support, some consulting support. That money has to be spent only on at-risk students, and any student assigned to DAEP has then become an at-risk student. So they are students that we need to be managing a little differently than the average student. So that requires training. So we felt like an expert could kind of help us a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Item H, proposed 2019-20 proposed tax rate for Northmore ISD.
Okay, in your packet you will find the adoption for the 2019 tax rate. We've gone from $1.04 to 97 cents, and that's because the new legislation has compressed the tax rate with House Bill 3.
motion to approve the proposed tax rate made by Christie, seconded by Alicia. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we skipped over that, or moved that other item, and we've already taken care of that sort. Item number 6, superintendent's report.
Okay, so we're really busy with all of our back-to-school activities. Today at Stone Middle School, they had the scheduled pickup and meet the teacher from 3:30 to 5. Tomorrow, Bailey, Parker, Everett, and Higgins have their meet the teacher from 4 to 6. This week, Monday through Friday of this week, the James Dawson Athletic Facility will be open. They're selling the Northmar football season tickets. It's open to the public. And then on Wednesday of this week, we will go to Paris Junior High for the Lamar County Convocation from 9 to 11. And the guest speaker this year is Hal Bowman, and he will be presenting on how to teach like a rock star. As far as a personnel update, we had our new teacher training last week. We are still looking for a few cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and instructional assistants. We're also going to be adding another pre-K teacher due to our pre-K enrollment numbers. We currently have 21 enrolled at Parker and 45 enrolled at Higgins, with multiple applications that are in a waiting pattern right now, just waiting on proof of income. So we feel the need to hire another pre-K teacher there. Our hope is that once these students start pre-K, that they'll stay with us throughout the remainder of their educational career. I'm going to pass this around. This is our board meeting schedule for the rest of the school year. This is just our dates. All of our board meetings will be housed here at the administration building for the rest of the school year.
I was noticing that October the 14th is a Monday of a holiday. I don't know if that made any difference or not.
Which holiday is it?
Isn't that the Monday that we get out for Columbus Day?
Rescheduling that if y'all would like.
Hmm?
I said we can look at rescheduling that
Well,
if
I
y'all would
just
like.
happened to notice that. That was another date. I think that was the only one.
No, that's all.
Okay. It's something we'd have to take care of at another time anyway. So item number 7, executive session. The board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapters 551, Subchapters D and E. 7:23.
Yeah, he's kind of